I read an article recently that 60% of Canadians are on the brink of insolvency.
It's no secret that Canadians are feeling stretched.
I stopped going out and I don't even have Wi-Fi anymore.
I used to live in downtown, so I moved back home.
They're overwhelmed and obviously not able to pay their cost of living due to the increased cost of all the goods in our economy.
Half of my paycheck is going into paying off the credit card.
It's just ridiculous. Housing is too expensive, food is too expensive, childcare is too expensive.
Especially housing here in Canada. In addition to wages that just are not increasing fast enough to keep pace with this. And although when you think of this, you might think you might need to live more frugally, or even if you are, you might want to become more frugal, this video is going to explain why I think that it's not the end all be all. Sometimes it's only half the answer you're looking for. While I was in school, I had kind of a skewed view of the world. I was earning a decent income as a teaching assistant with pretty minimal living costs and student loans to cover the costs that I needed to be covered. This allowed me to go out with friends pretty easily, go and do some more lavish things that I typically wouldn't, and buy whatever technology I needed for school, and even maybe not school related at all. When in reality, I didn't know how the world worked and how much that would change when I graduated school. Because as a matter of fact, student loans had to be repaid, and I was going to be paid a wage when I first started my first job that was roughly half of what I was being paid as a master's or graduate teaching assistant. The real world, as you might be surprised to hear, was quite a shock for me. I was scouted on LinkedIn for my first job that made me move across the country from British Columbia to Ontario, to Toronto to be exact, and it was nothing short of overwhelming. I was recruited, and then I had about a week to move all the way there with just the small amount of savings I had to cover all of the food, hotels, and gas costs to get to that place, and then also to front a first and last month's rent to get my apartment, not to mention to furnish the place a little bit, to get some groceries, and to get cleaning supplies and other things to get settled into my place. And all of this was before I even did a single day of work at my job. So it's needless to say, it was a little overwhelming, both emotionally and financially for me at that time. A lot of you can probably relate to this, and it's not often spoken about just how well you have to plan for it if you do want to do this properly, especially if it's your first job and you have no other real means of income to supplement those costs. To add on top of this, I then found out more about the recruiting firm, and recruiting firms in general work on an interesting business model. In case you don't know, this might be helpful for you, but I found out that the recruiting firm I was working with took about 48% of every single dollar I earned, simply because they recruited me for that company. So I was really only earning half the salary I was supposed to be earning, which was, as a contractor, quite frustrating since my wage was already so low. So at that point, I decided I needed to live frugally. I couldn't go out with friends on a regular basis. I couldn't have all these things I wanted. I needed to just cover my costs of living, and in order to save anything at all, that's what I needed to do. Of course, this at first was pretty easy because I didn't know anybody in Toronto, but as I got to know people and grew my list of friends, so to speak, this became more and more difficult. And Toronto being the second most expensive city in Canada, it was by no means an easy feat to get through that period. With this idea that I need to live frugally, I was constantly berating myself if I spent a little bit too much on food that month, or if I went out with somebody and just grabbed a coffee, I would feel guilty about that, and I was just constantly stressing, and it was really not healthy at all, my relationship with money early in my career. And all the while I was struggling to think of how I was going to pay my rent on time, and if I was even going to have enough to be able to pay it. As sad as it is to say, and I do love finding treasures, but I found my couch and a bike that actually was in great condition near the dumpster of my place where I lived, which really helped me out, and they actually ended up being great things that I use on a regular basis, so I'm very grateful for that. And so I didn't have to spend money on that, which I was very fortunate for. But this is just kind of crazy to think that I needed to go look around the dumpster for things that I would otherwise have to buy because I just didn't have the financial means to actually buy them myself. But after a year of this, I started to realize, like, what is this all for? I was in a job where nobody really cared about me. I was just the intern. My boss didn't really care about our employees. She spent the entire day in her office and didn't engage with us at all. Everybody was just cranky all the time, and I was by no means having any fun in 40 hours of my entire week every single week. So I demanded a little bit more for myself, and so I set out to find a new job. This was kind of a scary time for me because this was my first job. I was just so afraid of losing this job because they found out that I was looking for other jobs, that I kept extra quiet and made sure not to take any sick days or do anything suspicious to not risk losing this job, because if I did, I would have to move back with my parents, and that was not something I wanted to do. As luck would have it, just as I was looking for other jobs, another member joined our team, and he was really a kind guy. We instantly became friends. And he would often cover my work just when I had interviews, and he would make sure that my work got done and just kind of helped me fly under the radar. So I was very grateful for that. And crazy enough, I was looking for this job that I had an interview for, and I got this interview in a sector I was really, really interested in. And it turns out one of his best friends worked at the place I wanted to work at. After meeting with both of them together after work one day over a cocktail, I found out that she's one of the most generous people I could imagine. So she told me tons about the industry itself, which was very eye-opening to me, the pros and cons of the job itself and its hybrid work model, which I really looked forward to since I was in the office 5 days a week at my current job, and just kind of what to expect for the interview process, which really set me up for success, and I will be forever grateful for her and to my friend. So on that Tuesday morning in September of 2022, I went into the interview feeling pretty stressed out, especially because it was my first interview in person, but I had this really good feeling in my stomach that I was going to be okay, but it was a lot of pressure knowing that this was something I really wanted to do, but also a great opportunity to get out of my current position. But stepping into that interview room on that Tuesday morning, as soon as the interviewers walked in, I felt a sense of relief flow over me. They were so kind. They had smiles on their faces. They shook my hand. We had a little bit of banter before the interview even started, and it was just really refreshing. They were under 30, they looked fit, they looked happy, and as soon as I started having a conversation with them, the interview flowed so smoothly and everything just kind of fell into place, and I felt that it was just kind of a fit, like a puzzle piece clicking into place, as cheesy as that might sound to you. We also had a pretty good conversation about that one friend. They were kind of talking and telling some stories about her too, so it was a really great experience. And we even ended up talking about the gym at the end of the interview. I was told that the process typically took between 2 to 4 weeks to hear an answer back, but within a week, I got an email stating that they really wanted me on their team, that they were eager to have me, and it was just such a relief. I had gone out on a limb and done this because I thought I deserved more, and I'd done it. I got the job. And although I'm by no means stress-free when it comes to finances with this new role, even though it does offer quite a bit more money, I am just so grateful that I'm happy to go to work and I enjoy the work that I'm doing, and even just that helps with your mental well-being and your state of mind so much more than you might imagine. This did help me realize something so important after I landed this job, and I started utilizing some times of boredom, and I started listening to what my thoughts were saying. That being frugal isn't what everyone is meant to do. Sure, it can help you cut costs here and there. If you really are in a pinch, it's a great way to do it, but it's not a means of living your life. You're meant to explore things and step out of your comfort zone and then demand more for yourself and try to do more, become bigger and grow things, and that's how you can make ends meet, by just growing as a person, working on your skills, and then using those skills to level up and ultimately get paid more because you are more knowledgeable in that field. So being frugal is really obsolete when you think about it this way. There's always going to be times where it's difficult or you have a big expense, and it's necessary to be frugal, but in the grand scheme of things, it's never too late. You can always learn new skills, and every single industry has something more you can do to become more valuable in your job and to either get a promotion or maybe to lateral into another industry or another role within your industry where you can get paid more and maybe even enjoy your life a little bit more if you aren't completely happy with your role right now, be that with your manager, with your coworkers, or even the work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. It'll just catapult you into a new realm of happiness, and you'll forget all about your money problems if you're just happier overall, and you can slowly earn more money, obviously. That's also a big part of it, but just being happy and having that mental satisfaction, that happiness when you get home, that you didn't dread your day at work, that's such a big thing. Ultimately, my choice to move to that new job wasn't based in frugality. It played a role, but it was more so my happiness that mattered most to me. And typically when you do follow this, the passion will follow and the money will as well. In an environment where you're just so excited to be there and everyone's cheering you on and everyone's helping you, willing to help you, you're also willing to produce more output because you're willing to give more for that organization, for those people. And just even by doing that, you're increasing your output and your value, and people see that. You get promotions more easily, rather than if you are in an environment where you feel like you can't express yourself, people don't value your work, you're not going to increase your output because there's no reason to. You feel like it's not valued. This realization in part also set me on my path to financial freedom, which is what I want to share with you. Leave it down below if you have a story similar, or if you've had a realization recently where you've thought kind of through your frugality and started thinking of other ways to increase your income, or maybe you left a crappy job. Let me know how that went. Lastly, if you're focused only on cutting expenses and making your life miserable by just taking out all the fun things that you really want to do but you can't afford to spend money on, simply focus on just elevating your skills and becoming the best version of you, and those things will automatically just become part of your lifestyle because you're building that for yourself over time. Frugality is still super useful. I still use it on a daily basis, but do it in the right areas. Don't just pinch pennies everywhere and just make your life miserable, because that's not the point of living. You also want to be happy. You of course need to have a budget and know what's happening with your finances, but you should be able to spend a little bit more on the things you love, and that's just part of life. So experience it, have a great time with your money, but be frugal in the right places, and then direct the rest of your focus to earning more income, developing your skills, becoming more valuable to the market. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, check this one out here, and I'll see you in the next one.